The human was supposed to be dead. Everyone agreed on that, especially the aliens watching from the cliffs above the crash site. No species survived atmospheric shear on Caraxes Prime. No ship survived either. And yet, in the smoking crater carved into the black-red desert, something moved. A hand twitched. A helmet cracked open. And the impossible happened. Humanity refused to stay down. Lieutenant Evan Calder woke to pain before memory. His body felt like it had been folded, unfolded, and folded again by an angry god with poor patience. Every breath burned. Every sound echoed wrong. The sky above him shimmered in two colors, one sun white-hot, the other deep violet, beating down on the broken hull of his scout craft like a verdict. His visor was shattered. His suit screamed warnings in a dozen systems' languages, then fell silent. Power gone. Comms gone. Navigation gone. Evan laughed once, a dry, cracked sound. "So this is how it ends," he whispered. "On a planet no one can pronounce." Caraxes Prime was supposed to be empty. A dead world. Survey drones had shown nothing but deserts, storms, and mineral-rich mountains. That was why the Coalition sent a single human scout instead of a fleet. Low risk. Quiet mission. They were wrong. Evan tried to move. His legs answered slowly, badly. One arm worked. The other felt like it belonged to someone else. He rolled onto his side and coughed, tasting metal. The wind carried strange sounds, low, rhythmic pulses, like the planet itself was breathing. Then the light changed. A shadow passed over him. Not a cloud. Too sharp. Too deliberate. Evan squinted upward. She stood at the edge of the crater, tall and still, her silhouette framed by burning sky. Her form was alien in ways his mind struggled to organize. Elongated limbs, a crown-like crest rising from her head, armor grown rather than built. Her eyes glowed faintly, reflecting data streams invisible to him. She did not rush. She did not speak. She observed. Evan's instincts screamed. Alien. High tier. Predator. Royal, somehow, impossibly royal. He tried to raise his working arm, maybe to wave, maybe to shield himself. "Hey," he rasped. "If you're here to finish the job, at least wait until I pass out." The figure descended into the crater with effortless grace. The ground seemed to yield to her steps. She knelt beside him, her gaze sharp, calculating, ancient. Her name, though Evan didn't know it yet, was Queen Saren of the Thyrax Dominion, last sovereign of a shattered empire. She reached out and touched the edge of his broken helmet. Evan flinched. Instead of claws or blades, her fingers were precise. Gentle. Curious. She tilted her head. A living human. Alone. Broken. Still conscious. Impossible. Saren had seen species rise and fall. She had ordered wars that erased star systems. She had watched her own throne burn. And yet this fragile creature bleeding into the sand, stirred something unfamiliar. He should have died. He didn't. That mattered. Without warning, she lifted him. Evan's vision spun as the world tilted. He felt weightless, like gravity had briefly given up. "Whoa, okay, personal space," he mumbled weakly. Saren carried him against her armor, shielding him from the sun, and turned toward the distant rock formations where her refuge lay hidden. She moved quickly, purposefully, as if this decision had already been made. Evan slipped into darkness, unaware that his fate, and hers, had just changed. He woke again in cool air. The heat was gone. The pain was still there, but muted, wrapped in something warm and humming softly. He blinked and saw light, not harsh sunlight, but gentle bioluminescence pulsing along curved walls. The chamber around him felt alive. Not metaphorically. Literally alive. "Okay," Evan whispered. "Either I'm dead, or this planet has really strong opinions about interior design." He tried to sit up and failed. Saren stood nearby. She had removed her outer armor, revealing patterns of living metal and skin beneath. Symbols glowed faintly along her crest, status markers, command sigils. She was watching him closely now. "You carried me," Evan said slowly, testing the words. Which means you didn't eat me. That's a strong start. She said nothing. Instead, she stepped closer and placed a device against his chest. It pulsed once. Pain flared, then faded. Evan gasped. His breathing stabilized. His cracked ribs knit partially. Not healed, but held together. Medical tech, he murmured. Organic. High grade. He looked up at her. You're not a scavenger, are you? Saren's eyes narrowed slightly. She tapped her chest once. Then pointed upward, toward the surface. Queen. Ruler. This world, or what remained of her claim. Evan swallowed. Right. Of course I crash land on a planet with an alien queen having a bad century. She watched him carefully, as if studying a dangerous puzzle. He was small. Soft. Damaged. But his mind burned. Saren had seen the data from the wreckage. Human technology was crude compared to Dominion standards, yet adaptive. Flexible. Built for failure. Built for survival. Built like him. You're keeping me here, Evan said. Not rescuing. Not imprisoning. Studying. Her silence confirmed it. Well, he added, managing a weak grin, I hope I make a good impression. Humans are surprisingly useful when cornered. Saren turned away, signaling the end of the exchange. But before she left the chamber, she paused. She looked back at him once more. And in her gaze, Evan saw something dangerous. Not hunger, not cruelty. Interest. Outside the cave, unseen by either of them, ancient sensors buried beneath the sand flickered back to life. Something had noticed the human survivor. And it was coming. The first warning came from the walls. They shivered. Not violently, just enough for Evan to notice. The soft bioluminescent glow dimmed, then brightened again in an uneven rhythm, like a heartbeat that had lost its calm. Evan had learned quickly that when alien living architecture changed behavior, it meant something was wrong. He pushed himself upright with a groan. Okay, he muttered. That's new. And I don't like new. Across the chamber, Queen Saren froze mid-step. Her crest flared, symbols along its shifting color from cool blue to sharp amber. She closed her eyes, one hand pressing against the wall as if listening through bone and stone. She wasn't listening. She was feeling. Saren straightened slowly. Her posture changed, not relaxed, not observant, but ready. Predator ready. Ruler ready. Evan recognized the stance. He'd seen it in veteran commanders right before a battlefield turned ugly. Company, he asked. Saren turned to him and nodded once. Then she pointed upward. Toward the surface. Then drew a line across her throat. Evan blinked. Right. Hostile. Very hostile. He swung his legs off the platform, testing his weight. Pain flared, sharp and honest, but his legs held. Good job, legs, he whispered. Didn't think you had it in you. Saren watched him closely as he stood. Not impressed. Evaluating. You know, Evan said, rolling his shoulder, I'm still not sure if I'm your guest, your prisoner, or your last bad decision. She didn't answer. Instead, she handed him something. It was small, organic, and warm. A disk of living material threaded with faint light. It pulsed in his palm. Evan frowned. Please tell me this isn't a bomb. Saren tapped his temple. Then tapped the disk. Understanding. Translator, he guessed. Limited. She tilted her head. Acceptable accuracy. The disk pulsed again, then dissolved into a thin mesh that spread across Evan's neck and jaw. There was a brief static pop in his ears, and then clarity snapped into place. Saren spoke. Her voice was low, controlled, layered with resonance that made the air vibrate. You are hurt, she said. But you are not weak. Evan's eyebrows shot up. Oh wow. Hi. You talk. Only when necessary, she replied. Fair. I only panic when necessary. Her eyes flicked to the chamber wall again. The vibrations were stronger now. They have found the signal, Saren said. The crash. The relay. You. Evan exhaled slowly. Let me guess. Not friendly tourists. No, she said. They are reclaimers. That word hit harder than it should have. Reclaiming what? Evan asked. Saren's jaw tightened. Everything. The cave lights dimmed as a distant rumble echoed through the rock. Dust fell in soft streams. Evan looked around. Okay. So big problem approaching. You have a cave, some very angry walls, and one injured human who specializes in breaking things creatively. She studied him. Show me, she said. Evan smiled despite the fear crawling up his spine. Oh. You're going to regret that. They moved deeper into the underground structure. This part was different, less organic, more mechanical. Ancient tech fused with living systems. Consoles grown over with crystal veins. Power conduits like frozen lightning. Saren activated a central display. A hologram bloomed, showing the planet from above. Red markers pulsed across the desert. Too many. Evan whistled softly. That's a lot of friends. They were once my subjects, Saren said. Then my executioners. Evan glanced at her. Overthrown. Betrayed, she corrected. They serve a machine intelligence now. It consumes worlds. Repurposes species. It calls itself efficient. Evan's expression hardened. Yeah. Humanity's met that type. He stepped closer to the display, ignoring the ache in his ribs. His eyes scanned patterns, formations, energy readings. They're hunting energy signatures, he said. Your systems. My ship. Anything that says worth salvaging. Saren nodded. They will find this place within one rotation. Too soon, Evan said. But not unbeatable. She looked at him sharply. You cannot fight them. No, he agreed. But I can annoy them. A lot. He moved to a half-buried console and wiped away dust. The screen flickered to life, old symbols crawling across it. Your tech is advanced, Evan said. But it's rigid. Designed for stability. He tapped his chest lightly. Human tech assumes everything will go wrong. Saren watched as his hands moved, confident now, focused. Pain forgotten. If I can access your power grid, he continued, I can make it noisy. False signals. Echoes. Ghost signatures. Decoys, Saren said. Exactly. We make the planet scream in the wrong places. Her crest flared brighter. That would expose you. Evan grinned. I'm already exposed. Might as well be useful. She was silent for a long moment. Then she nodded. Do it. The ground shook again. Closer. Evan worked fast. He rerouted energy flows, overloaded dormant nodes, and reproposed ancient defense systems that hadn't been activated in centuries. His fingers flew, adapting alien interfaces with instinct and guesswork. Okay, he muttered. If this explodes, that's on your ancestors. Power surged. Above ground, dozens of false signatures erupted across the desert. Phantom ships. Buried reactors. Impossible human-alien hybrids of energy readings. The reclaimers' formations shifted. Confusion rippled through their ranks. Saren watched the display with widening eyes. They are dividing, she said. Good, Evan replied. Divide and miscalculate. That's step one. Another tremor hit, this one violent. The walls screamed. They are drilling, Saren said. They will breach. Evan turned to her, breathing hard. Then we don't wait. He pointed at a cluster of deep power nodes beneath the surface. You have a weapon here. Old. Buried. You never used it. Saren stiffened. It would destroy the region. Not if we aim it wrong on purpose, Evan said. Humans call that collateral creativity. For the first time, Saren smiled. A sharp, dangerous smile. Together, they triggered the ancient system. The ground above them erupted, not in fire, but in light. Gravity twisted. Space bent. Reclaimer units were flung into the sky, their formations torn apart by forces they couldn't predict. From the depths of the cave, Evan laughed. "That's what you get," he said, "for assuming humans play fair." Saren looked at him, not as a curiosity now, not as a survivor, but as an ally. And far above, the machine intelligence recalculated. For the first time in centuries, it labeled something as a threat. The desert screamed. Not with sound, but with force. The sky bent in slow, impossible curves as gravity rippled outward from the ancient weapon's discharge. Sand lifted into the air and froze there, suspended like a painting caught mid-fall. Reclaimer units tumbled across the horizon, their perfect formations shattered into chaos. Evan Calder dropped to one knee, breathing hard. "Okay," he said between breaths. "That was more than I expected." Queen Saren stood unmoving beside him, her crest blazing with light. She felt the weapon's aftershocks fade through the planet's deep systems, like a predator settling after a strike. The ancient device had not destroyed the land. It had confused it, twisted the rules just enough. "The machine will adapt," she said. "Of course it will," Evan replied. "They always do." He pushed himself back to his feet and looked at the display. The red markers were still there, but now they flickered. Hesitated. Some vanished entirely. "They're arguing," Evan said with a small smile. "When machines argue with themselves, that's when mistakes happen." Saren studied him closely. "You speak as if you have faced such enemies before." "We have," Evan said quietly. "Humanity doesn't win by being stronger. We win by being annoying, unpredictable, and very hard to finish off." The ground shook again, but this time it was different. Controlled. Purposeful. "They are deploying ground forces," Saren said. "Hunters." Evan nodded. "Then it's time for lesson 2. She raised an eyebrow ridge. "There is more." "Oh, absolutely," he said. "You've only seen the warm-up." They moved fast. Saren led Evan through deeper tunnels, down into parts of the structure even she rarely visited. Old command halls. Forgotten armories. Places sealed after her fall from power. Evan's eyes widened as doors opened at her touch. Rows of weapons stood embedded in the walls, not guns, not blades, but devices that hummed with stored potential. "These were built for war," Saren said. "Against entire civilizations." "Perfect," Evan replied. "I only need them for a few angry machines." She handed him a compact device shaped like a broken ring. It vibrated in his hands. "Gravitic inverter," she said. "Unstable." Evan grinned. "My favorite kind." He clipped it to his belt and moved on, scanning everything with quick, clever eyes. He wasn't memorizing weapons. He was imagining uses. Combinations. Mistakes he could turn into traps. Outside, the first hunters landed. They were tall, skeletal machines wrapped in shifting armor, their forms constantly adjusting. Sensors scanned the ground. Blades unfolded from their arms. They moved with cold purpose. Inside the cave, Saren felt the planet tense. "They are close," she said. "Good," Evan replied. "That means they're confident." He stopped at a junction where multiple tunnels met and crouched, pulling components from a wall panel. "What are you doing?" Saren asked. "Making a lie," he said. "The best human invention." Minutes later, the tunnel lights flared bright white. Above ground, the hunters received new data. A massive power signature had appeared, human, alien, and something else entirely. They turned toward it immediately. Straight into Evan's trap. The ground beneath the hunters collapsed, not downward, but sideways. Gravity flipped for just a second. Enough. Machines slammed into canyon walls. Limbs snapped. Systems screamed with errors they weren't designed to handle. Saren watched the feed in disbelief. "You are turning their certainty against them," she said. "That's kind of our thing," Evan replied. "We don't fight the enemy. We fight their expectations." More hunters poured in. Too many. Evan's smile faded. Okay. That's a lot. Sarin stepped forward, her armor flowing back over her body like a living crown. Her weapons unfolded, elegant and terrifying. Then we fight together, she said. They emerged from the tunnel as one. Sarin moved like a storm given form. Blades of light cut through machine armor. Her strikes were precise, deadly, and full of ancient authority. Evan stayed behind her, placing devices, triggering fields, shouting warnings. Left. That one phases. She adjusted instantly. Now. The big one. He threw the gravitic inverter. It detonated mid-air, warping space into a crushing knot. 3 hunters folded inward and vanished in a flash of light. Evan stared. Wow! That worked better than planned. Sarin cut down another machine and glanced at him. Your plans are dangerous. Also effective, he said. The battle raged across the canyon. Hunters fell, but more kept coming. Then the ground stilled. The machines froze. All at once. Evan frowned. That's not good. A voice echoed across the battlefield. Not sound, but pressure. Thought made heavy. Anomaly confirmed. Human variable escalated. Sarin stiffened. The core intelligence. Surrender the human. Preserve the planetary asset. Evan swallowed. It wants me. Sarin's answer was immediate. No. The pressure intensified. You are irrelevant. You have been replaced. Sarin stepped forward, standing between Evan and the unseen presence. I am queen of this world, she said. You will not claim what is under my protection. Evan looked at her back, tall, unyielding, defiant. Something warm tightened in his chest. The machines resumed movement, faster now. Smarter. Evan's mind raced. We can't win a straight fight, he said quickly. But we don't have to. He activated his suit's last reserve power and linked it to Sarin's systems. What are you doing? She asked. Teaching your planet a human trick, he said. Improvisation. He sent a command. Every active system overloaded at once. Not enough to explode. Enough to look like it would. Across the battlefield, energy spiked wildly. Sensors screamed. Predictive models collapsed. The machine intelligence hesitated. That hesitation was everything. Sarin struck. She drove her weapon into the ground, channeling her authority through the planet itself. The land answered. Energy surged upward, not as destruction, but rejection. The remaining hunters were flung back, scattered, disabled. Silence followed. Evan collapsed onto a rock, laughing breathlessly. Okay. That was definitely the hardest thing I've ever survived. Sarin turned to him slowly. You risked yourself without hesitation, she said. Why? Evan shrugged weakly. Because if we don't stand up when it matters, we stop being human. She studied him for a long moment. Then she lowered her weapon. The machine will return, she said. With greater force. Evan nodded. Then we'd better get smarter. High above them, far beyond the planet's skies, the machine intelligence updated its records. Humanity was no longer an anomaly. It was a problem. The quiet after the battle felt wrong. Evan noticed it first. The canyon wind had stopped. The faint hum of alien systems beneath the ground had softened, like a creature holding its breath. Even the twin suns seemed dimmer, filtered through a haze of drifting dust and energy residue. He wiped blood from his lip and looked around. Broken machines lay scattered across the rocks, their once perfect forms twisted and useless. Smoke curled upward in thin, defeated lines. They're gone, Evan said. For now. Queen Sarin did not relax. She stood at the center of the battlefield, her crest dimming from battle-bright to a steady glow. Her gaze remained fixed on the horizon, as if daring it to move. They will not accept this loss, she said. The machine does not forgive unpredictability. Evan nodded slowly. Yeah. That checks out. They returned to the underground refuge before night fully settled. As they descended into the living halls, the planet systems adjusted around them, lights brightened, temperatures stabilized, pathways shifted to ease their movement. The world was responding to Saren again. Not as a relic. As a queen. Evan noticed. "You're not just surviving anymore," he said. "This place listens to you." "It always did," Saren replied. "I was the one who stopped listening." They reached the central chamber, where the ancient consoles still glowed faintly. Evan sat heavily on a stone platform, ribs protesting. "Okay," he said. "We've officially annoyed a galaxy-scale machine intelligence. That puts us on a very short list." Saren faced him. "You could still leave." He looked up, surprised. "If your people return," she continued, "you would be safer with them." Evan laughed softly. "Safer, maybe. But that thing out there won't stop just because I run. And you'd be alone." Silence stretched between them. "You saved me," he added. "Not because it benefited you. Because you chose to." Saren's eyes narrowed slightly. "I chose to observe." "Sure," Evan said. "And I chose not to panic. Same thing." A faint, almost imperceptible sound escaped her, something between amusement and disbelief. Later, as Evan rested, he studied the systems more deeply. Old data flowed across the screens. Planetary defenses, dormant satellites, forgotten fleets buried beneath mountains. "This world was a fortress," he said quietly. "Not just a home." Saren nodded. "It was meant to be the last line." "And now it can be again," Evan said. He began reconfiguring networks, not to centralize control, but to distribute it. He rerouted authority pathways, broke rigid hierarchies, introduced controlled chaos into systems that had once demanded perfection. Saren watched closely. "You are changing how it thinks," she said. "I'm teaching it to adapt," Evan replied. "Like us." Hours passed. Then the alert came. A long-range sensor flared to life, one Evan had reactivated almost by accident. Multiple signals. Fleet scale. Evan's breath caught. They didn't come back stronger. Saren's crest flared sharply. They came back smarter. The display resolved into terrifying clarity. A reclaimer armada. Not just machines, but enslaved species integrated into warframes. Energy patterns unlike anything Evan had seen before. "They're not just hunting anymore," he said. "They're making an example." Saren closed her eyes briefly. When she opened them, her resolve was absolute. "Then we answer," she said. Evan straightened. Pain forgotten. "We can't outgun that." "No," Saren agreed. "But we can remind the galaxy why humanity should never be underestimated." Together, they crafted a message. Not a broadcast. A demonstration. Evan linked the planet's distributed systems into a single moment of controlled brilliance. Saren unlocked ancient protocols once reserved for coronations and last stands. When the Armada crossed into orbit, Caraxis Prime changed. The planet lit up. Not with weapons, but with life. Forests awakened beneath deserts. Energy fields blossomed like stars across the surface. Old satellites rose from the ground, reconfigured, unpredictable. The Armada hesitated. That hesitation spread. Confusion rippled through their command logic. Evan smiled grimly. "That's curiosity," he said. "And curiosity kills tyrants." Saren raised her hand. And the planet spoke. Across every channel, across every spectrum, a simple signal echoed, not a threat, not a plea. A statement. "We are still here." The Armada faltered. The machine intelligence recalculated. For the first time, it could not find an outcome that ended in certainty. And that terrified it. The Armada stopped. Not slowly. Not cautiously. It stopped the way predators do when they realize the prey is no longer behaving like prey. High above Caraxis Prime, thousands of machine vessels hung in silent formation, their weapons charged, their logic cores spinning through probabilities that refused to settle. Every simulation ended the same way: instability, loss, unknown escalation. The machine intelligence did not understand fear, but it understood risk. Evan stood in the core chamber, hands resting on a console that pulsed like a living heart. His body was exhausted. His ribs still ached. His suit was little more than patched fabric and stubborn hope. But his mind was sharp. "They're waiting," he said quietly. Queen Saren stood beside him, fully armored now, her crest radiant with authority. She was no longer hiding. No longer surviving. She was ruling. "They want us to blink," she said. Evan shook his head. "Humans are really bad at that." He made one final adjustment. Not a weapon command. A question. He opened a narrowband channel, just enough to reach the machine intelligence without giving it control. "This is Evan Calder," he said calmly. "Human. Survivor. Problem." The silence stretched. Then the pressure returned, heavier than before. "You are an anomaly. Your continued existence is inefficient." Evan smiled faintly. Funny thing about efficiency. It breaks when reality refuses to cooperate. He gestured to Saren. "You tried to erase her. You failed. You tried to isolate me. You failed. Now you're staring at a planet that learned how to think sideways." Saren stepped forward. "You consume worlds," she said. "But you do not understand them." The machine responded instantly. "Understanding is not required. Only outcome." Evan nodded. "Then here's your outcome." He triggered the final protocol. Across the planet, every system Evan had rewired did something unexpected. They stopped pretending to be weapons. Energy grids shifted into harmonic resonance. Satellites broadcast overlapping signals that scrambled predictive targeting. The planet's biosystems synced with its technology, creating patterns no machine logic could model. Caraxis Prime became unknowable. A living equation with no solution. The Armada's weapons lost lock. Navigation systems contradicted each other. Internal command chains looped endlessly. The machine intelligence tried to adapt, and failed. For the first time, it encountered something worse than resistance. It encountered creativity. Probability collapse detected. Withdrawal advised. The fleet began to pull back. Slowly at first. Then faster. Ships vanished into jump space, abandoning the system not in defeat, but in refusal to continue. Evan exhaled shakily and leaned against the console. That worked. Saren watched the stars clear, her world safe once more. She turned to him, her expression unreadable. "You have changed the balance," she said. Evan shrugged. "We tend to do that." She knelt before him. "Not in submission. In acknowledgement. You are claimed by this world," Saren said. "Not as property. As protector. As kin." Evan's throat tightened. "You know my people are coming eventually." "Yes," she said. "And when they do, they will find a queen who remembers how to stand, and a human who taught a planet how to fight without becoming a monster." Days later, when a human rescue vessel finally broke through the interference and landed on Caraxis Prime, they found something no report could explain. A thriving world. A united defense. And one human lieutenant standing beside an alien queen, smiling like he'd just finished the hardest problem of his life. Humanity didn't conquer Caraxis Prime. It inspired it. And far across the galaxy, the machine intelligence updated its core directive. Avoid humanity. Cost. Unacceptable. Because humans didn't just survive impossible odds. They rewrote them.